But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My thing is, government will, I think all the stakeholders get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
But the support that is needed, and once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning. Today is Monday morning and it's 3 days to Christmas. It's my pleasure to welcome you to another edition, this Monday edition of Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Webo, and I hope you had a wonderful weekend. On set with me this morning is a public affairs analyst that will be reviewing the papers with me, and his name is Samaila Musa. Musa, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you
It's
for
been
having me.
a long while.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And on Inside Nigeria, we'll be reviewing some major front page news headlines on some newspapers. And we'll be starting with Leadership newspaper, the nation's most influential and leading newspaper. Leadership. On Leadership today says, Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Political parties oppose NAS, that is National Assembly, overriding PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari. Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Political parties oppose NAS overriding PMB. Say it's bad for its legacy. NAS would shift support for PMB. Senate President declares. We won't interfere, says PDP, as APC gives more. Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Political parties oppose NAS overriding President Muhammadu Buhari. That is on Leadership newspaper this morning. And of course, this day newspaper also has similar story with Leadership newspaper. So let's see what is on this day newspaper. And this day says, on deadline, Buhari fails to reject Electoral Act Amendment Bill. On deadline, Buhari fails to reject Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Hope now is for him to sign, since by law he failed to communicate rejection. Governors Malami APC still against democratic reform of voting culture. CSOs express shock, disappointment in President Muhammadu Buhari. That's the news making the headlines on Leadership newspaper and This Day newspaper. So, Samela, what is your view?
I never envisaged that it will take this long even for the president to actually, assent to this electoral amendment bill. It's the voice of Nigerians. The National Assembly has also spoken. Because these are representatives who are actually speaking the voice of their constituents, and I do not see any reason why the president, because outside even this the legislature, I believe the president also have informants from here and there, because that's what it ought to be. As a sitting president, you need to have people who you want to ask what is the feel on the streets and stuff like that, people who can actually tell you the way it is. And I mean, Nigerians have spoken, so he shouldn't even, because I felt he was okay delaying because there were pressures from here and there that he shouldn't, append his signature and all of that. But haven't heard that this is actually the way to go, that Nigerians actually want this. They want their own voice to also be heard. He should have just gone ahead and do that, because this delay, fine, we're only making speculations now that because he had the deadline has passed and he hasn't signed, and which means he can't be rejected anymore since he hasn't said anything. So communicate to the National Assembly. So, but I mean, it's needless. Even the delay itself is needless as far as I'm concerned. And he should just do the needful and let the country move forward, since that's the way to go. Because even the major issues in the new electoral amendment bill It's actually either direct or indirect primaries and stuff like that. And obviously, we could see now that Nigerians also want their own voice to also count, even during the primaries. So, and the president should just consent to that, and that's the way forward. So that, as far as I'm concerned, he should do the needful. Talking about, if you can go back the slide on leadership.
Yes, can we have leadership? Leadership says political parties oppose NAS, that is National Assembly overriding President Muhammadu Buhari. In other words, the political parties, they are for what they are supporting Buhari's stance.
Yeah, well, you see, because it's greed. You understand? Left for the political parties, we all know, because the leadership of those political parties are always the beneficiaries of whatever happens during the primaries. As a matter of fact, that's when they always cash in and cash out. You understand? That's where their own money comes from. They decide on who gets what. You understand? So they wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want a situation where they won't be able to impose a candidate, because when you have delegates, the party just pick on people who they feel they can impose on and say, oh, you're going to be the delegates from so place, and this is the way to go. You understand? So this is going to be more difficult for them if you have direct primaries. You understand? So of course they will want to, and why they are saying, oh, they don't want the National Assembly to override him, and making all sort of point. I mean, bringing up all sorts of points why they won't override him. That it's not. It's going to be a bad legacy for him. They are more particular about what legacy than the wishes. I mean, you understand, or than good governance. Because when you're talking about legacy, the legacy that is just in the interest of just a few people and not in the entire interest of the populace. So it's selfishness in the long run.
Earlier, the AGF Malami wrote a letter and it's meeting Buhari, President Muhammad Buhari, why he shouldn't assent to the bill. And his reason was that it will be too cumbersome financially to conduct direct primaries by INEC. I think he put a humongous amount of about 500 million naira or so to do that.
So did they give the figure of how much this one is it costs? He didn't come up with the figure.
I think he said about 500.
What about the indirect?
Okay, he didn't come.
You see, so that's the point. It's not as if that one is free. I understand. It's not as if it's free of charge. You get it? So essentially is because they always believe when it is a few people who decide what, they are in control. You understand?
Yes.
They can easily control what happens. And even going forward, they know the APC, primaries is also around the corner. You understand? It's going to be most difficult for anybody to say, oh, this is the candidates to vote for if you have a direct primaries. No, you cannot impose.
With the president's stance, many of the opinion that the president is indirectly showing support behind the governors. The governors have been the ones opposing direct primaries.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, that's what it seems. But whatever it is, whoever is in support of this or not in support of that, I think the right thing just needs to be done. Whether it seems to be doing, in support of the governors or otherwise, if that's the direct thing, I mean, that's the wishes of the masses, the populace, let so be it, because democracy is actually governance of the people. Yes. For the people and by the people. So if the people say this is what we want, yes, you understand, it's a game of numbers. So yeah, the indirect primaries already, has excluded so many people, and there are so much in that indirect primaries. You see, this delegate issue is also very expensive. You understand, and that's where you hear, one candidate is actually giving $5,000, another one is giving $2,000, and stuff like that. So that corruption aspect of it needs to be taken care of. You understand? Of course, we cannot read the system of corruption totally, but let it be that this is what the people actually want, not some imposition. You see a godfather somewhere just impose and say, yeah, this is the way to go, because all the 10 candidates, I mean, the 10 delegates are actually coming from his pocket. So there's no any other voice that is saying no. So that for me, that's the way to go. Let it be in the records. let it be be written about him that he actually signed this bill because that is what the Nigerian populace are demanding for. Yes.
So thank you so much. Today being the deadline, we just sincerely hope that if President Muhammad Buhari is not assenting to the bill, he should at least write to the
National Assembly. Yes.
to-
And well, let's hope so. I believe maybe his advisors are at work, and I hope they will do the needful, and what will earn them more respect.
Thank you so much. Away from politics, we are moving over to our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy says household turn to second-hand clothes, cheaper foods, orders for Christmas. Households turn to second-hand clothes, cheaper foods, orders for Christmas. And Christmas is just few days away.
Yeah. It's really funny the way things are turning out in this country, because sometimes you just sit down, you can't even place your hand on the reason why these items are soaring by the day. What you buy it last week is not what you're going to get this week, and it's not even stopping at just food items. It's now spreading to virtually almost everything you can lay your hands on. Everything you need now in Nigeria, you can't get it the same price you get it a week before. So and now the Yuletide is just around the corner. Household turn to second-hand clothes. I mean, that's even for the ones that can afford to even buy a clothes at this time. Because when we're talking about food, we have not finished dealing with the issue of food. You understand? So the ones that are even lucky to be able to afford the second-hand clothes, they are still better off. Nigerians in this time that we're talking about, they are actually also living well, because even the second-hand clothes are now something that are now the price of the former new ones. I mean, the new ones in just the recent past. Because I know good second-hand clothes. We were having a discussion about 2 days ago with a friend. Good second-hand clothes for a shirt now costs from 2,000 naira. You understand? For a good one. So really, and just the recent past, you can also get for children. You can still get new ones for the same amount, just the recent past. So really, it's sad that Nigeria is now in this, and we're even moving away, because the moment you step into the new year, nobody knows. It might be 2nd of January. They say they've increased the fuel. Only God knows what is going to happen after that.
And the NS is already threatening strike. But you are talking about inflation. But the National Bureau of Statistics said the inflation rate for the month of October actually trickled down to 15.99% from 16.63%, 16% recorded in the previous month.
I love to read that. I love to see the indices.
Yes, that is on National Economy Today. But however, it's not reflecting on the price of goods in the market. You go to the market, just like you pointed out, it keeps. That's
why I say I love to read and know what are this index. How do they arrive at this figure they coming about that it has dropped? Because in reality, nothing has dropped. So if you are saying something has dropped, I love to know, is it one particular item that dropped that also affected the total figure, or they are saying across board inflation rates drop? Because I can't really understand what they're saying, and it's not making any sense to me. Because if you say something has dropped in your office and we go to the markets, it's still increasing. So I don't know where you're getting your figures from, So, but you just mentioned that NLC is also warming up for a strike or protest or whatever it is. As far as me I'm concerned, and a lot of Nigerians have lost confidence in the NLC. They are all the same people, birds of the same feather. They already know what you're also negotiating for. As a matter of fact, the NLC leadership part time are always praying for this kind of things to always come, because that's when they make their own breakthroughs. That's when their money comes from. They already sit down with backdoor with the same people who are oppressing the masses to say, no, what will happen is that once you say you increase it with social amount, no, increase it more, so that when we fight, when we make noise, you bring it down, and then we resolve. And then what goes to so really people have lost confidence in the NLC, but they can do whatever they want to do, or even though the cause to which they want to plan, the protest is planned on, is actually genuine. But if eventually they are actually not there to fight for the cause of the downtrodden, they are actually losing it in the long run. So whatever that needs to be done should be done properly and in having the interests of the people at heart, and not because you want to make something for yourself, But only God knows what will happen after this fuel will be increased. With this, the rate at which things are actually rising, the cost of things are rising. By the time you increase this fuel, only God knows what's going to happen because of the multiply effect.
Yes. Now, talking about Christmas, Christmas is just about 5 days away, and with the way things are, the increase skyrocketing household items. So, what outlook is Christmas going to be like?
Well, one of the greatest challenge I even see with the Christmas a few days away is even the issue of the Omicron variant of COVID. That's another challenge, because when you look at the big cities where Christmas is being celebrated big time, and the way we hear about the increase in the figures of people who have been affected, is going to be a serious challenge. And I know Lagos is already putting some sanctions in place to say, no, there's not going to be this, there's not going to be that, just looking for ways to actually curb the way people will be interacting in crowded areas and stuff like that. But coming back to what you said, Christmas period is a period of giving. It should be a time where people who are actually not even having should be able to enjoy in abundance, get gifts either in clothing materials or in food items. But the challenge now for the people who want to even give is that a lot of them cannot not afford for themselves, not to talk of start giving out. You understand? So you're going to see a very big drop in people sending gifts out, because the prices are now times 3 of what they used to be. So really, quite a lot of people will just be like, well, they also understand that the times are hard. So this is what this one in a very long time. This is going to be one of the most hard Christmas season in Nigeria. And the prayer is, we just pray that something is done fast and on time to actually relieve those pains that people are going through. Because if during Christmas period people cannot even still afford to eat, I'm talking about people who will be celebrating, it's actually a very sad one. And the government should do something about it. And I feel maybe during period of celebrations like this in Nigeria, if need be, or if the right things will be done, the ministry of this ministry that this woman is heading again, humanitarian and all of that, should look into what they can do. If maybe part of the palliatives that some of them hide somewhere can be brought out at this time and be shared to people is actually the right step.
There are extensions here and there that most of the palliatives or humanitarian reliefs, they don't actually get to.
That's why I say if the right thing will be done, because that's the challenge we're having when they start talking about they will start giving Nigerians 5,000 naira when what's the sense behind it? Because 90% of that money will be going into private pockets. So why not you channel that money into that same fuel to reduce the price for that? You understand? So it's not making sense. So quite a lot of times, even when the Ministry of Humanitarian Service Affairs is saying they want to do this, because the confidence is no longer there. So you always feel, well, it will get for sure. It will get to a few individuals and they will you put that for camera purposes, and that's the end of it. And so it really, it's a sad one. Also, it's shameful if we have to continue with this trend where people need some of these things the most. And I can tell you, just in recent past, there was a fasting period, Ramadan period, where Saudi Arabia was actually sending dates, dabino, to different nations. And the one that came to Nigeria, some people hoarded them and started selling them at exorbitant prices. Something that ought to have been shared free of charge. It's really unfortunate that this is happening in this country.
It's very, very unfortunate. But from national economy, we are going on a break now. When we come back, we'll be looking at the last paper we have on our menu today, and that is the Punch. Please don't go away. Stay tuned.
sponsorship, and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. I still remain Winifred Wiebo, and I have with me in the studio Samaila Musa. Samaila Musa is a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you for having me.
And now we are looking at our last paper on the menu, The Punch. The Punch newspaper. COVID-19, federal government issues travel advice. Lagos vows clampdown as infections soar. COVID-19, federal government issues travel advice. Lagos vows clampdown as infections soar. Fleeing errands inbound travelers will be charged to court. Commissioner vows. Avoid non-essential international national travels while we study Omicron. NCDC, that is National Center for Disease Control. 845 travelers test positive in 7 days. Lastly, Kano plans to vaccinate 15 million residents. That is a potpourri of stories today on the Punch newspaper. So,
Okay, yeah. Yes, yeah, and I didn't even know the federal government issued travel advice. I love to actually also read that to know what advice they're giving. But I know essentially it won't be outside the fact that you need to, except if this travel is so important, at this time. There shouldn't be room for all this of frivolities about everybody's traveling for Christmas, and that's we need to also understand that these are actually hard times. We shouldn't further make things harder for ourselves, especially regards to this Omicron issue. So let everybody, if it's possible, just stay where you are. You understand, because already it wasn't Christmas period without the surge is actually getting worse, and by the time we enter maybe January 2nd, 3rd to 5th, you start hearing different stories and stuff like that. And one of the writers says 845 travelers test positive in 7 days. I don't really know, are they international travels but I believe it has to do with that, because those are the only people who get tested maybe on at the point of entry. Other than that, I mean, with domestic travel, don't really do any form of testing. So if travelers about almost getting to 1,000 in 7 days, that's actually a source of worry. It's really, really a source of worry. And I generally, whether domestic or international, I feel this time around should just be when people will just learn to celebrate, this kind of season in their own base, in their own domain, not necessarily having to travel, because quite a lot of times people sell their phones to even go back to their base in early January. And if we now have this kind of issues, there is the issue of everybody is crying, things are expensive, transportation right now has actually tripled and everything. And then this COVID issue is something that everybody should take very serious, because from the way the things are going, it's not like the first, second jab doesn't seem to be effective as it is with this variant that is actually ongoing now. So really, everybody should just learn to stay where they are until when we are able to actually swim above this tide. So I think the right thing for us is everybody should just be prayerful and just celebrate Christmas. If you're in Abuja, or if Abuja is your base, please just learn to, maybe we might even learn to start making it lively in where we are than going to overcrowd those our villages. So it's just the best way to go.
One thing I don't really quite understand is the fact that why this general apathy, Nigerians apathy towards COVID-19. We had Ebola. When Ebola, but Nigerians took Ebola more
Serious.
seriously than the way they are doing with COVID-19. Why is this? Why is there apathy?
Yeah, what happened? What happened is that you see, the Ebola thing was the first of its kind. So having gone through Ebola, when COVID came, a lot of people felt, was that not how they make noise during Ebola? But Ebola, I think it kills faster than COVID. So it sends that fear. And even the COVID, when the first time they saw that general fear, nobody, in fact, I went to the ATM, quite a lot of people, apart from sanitizer, people would rather use the nylon picked on the floor to punch the the machine. But after a while, because of the conspiracy theories that started coming out, and people get easily brainwashed. If somebody will just read something and say, "Oh, COVID is not real," so far the source is from America or the UK. It might just be one cycle somewhere, just sat down and just put up something and say, "Come on, I don't believe." I mean, just like anybody can wake up and say, doesn't even believe there's any God. Everything came into existence by their own. So somebody will just feel, "Oh, this COVID thing is not real." And once you put it out, there are about, I can tell you, 40% of people who are going to read it will believe it hook, line, and sinker without.
And have you forgotten during that Ebola period, we even had a horse that people were many people baited with a sword.
So so many people wounded themselves because of the quantity of salt they were applying on their body.
And here comes Ebola, and they are seeing it happening outside the country, yet they are not moved.
Yeah, by the time another person came up, I think I read somewhere when somebody said, "Oh, it affects the white people because of, number one, their weather and their skin color. But here in Africa, it will be very difficult for COVID to actually affect us because, number one, our immune system is far, far stronger than that of the white people. And then our weather here is very hot. So the COVID, thing cannot actually survive under this weather, And, because there was some kind of delay at the point, it wasn't really spreading. So that thing make so many people to start believing that, yeah, it's true. We Nigerians and this, and before you know, it's all over the place. So quite a lot of people still convinced that no, they can't have it. They don't even need any jab, and it's not going to affect them.
Okay. Talking about the federal government's travel advice, do you think it has anything to do with the UK and Canada and UAE's own travel advice? After they lifted the ban on Nigerian travelers, they had to issue travel advice. Do you think it has any correlation to it?
I haven't seen that of Nigeria, the federal government yet, but I'm sure it won't be anything outside those issues. It won't really be far-fetched from those, advice that you have. I mean, that these countries are also issuing, which is the right thing to do, actually, because it's just not enough to just start dishing out others. You need to also educate your citizenry on the right things to do. I believe so many people traveling also know this, but because of our nonchalant attitude, we need to be reminded from time to time that this is what is actually necessary. This is what you need to do. And I'm sure at the airport, some of this advice will be like a strict thing to be adhered to. Other than that, they're going to cancel your trip. If you say, "Oh, I'm going to go on flight without face mask," I'm sure they're not going to allow you to embark on that trip. So there's so many of this advice that you find out that at the end, it's not really advice. You understand? It's just going to be, you either stay true to it or you are not going to have your way. So it's a good thing to do, and it's the right is the right step in the right direction. But I mean, just like I mentioned earlier, the most important thing is, except if it's very, very necessary. And very necessary means issue of life and death for people who are traveling on actually health grounds to go for treatments. Outside that, if it's just for pleasure, which quite a lot of times during this period is for pleasure, I think it can be suspended. If you stay alive, you're going to see another year. So that should be your slogan. That, well, we in a very short time, these diseases are going to be wiped out, and we can travel next year. So it's not like, "Oh, if I don't travel this year, I'm going to die." Nobody's going to die if you adhere to this, because there's no point taking unnecessary risk, especially international travels that we know that it's more prevalent in those places than we have here. So why not just stay where you are?
Thank you so much. Before we go, let's go back to Leadership newspaper. Let's see some other stories on his cover page. Leadership newspaper. Yes, for leadership. Let's see what the white boss says this morning. Fear of low profits pushes banks to adopt holdco structure. 6 banks and more to follow. And then underneath the main headline this morning is bandits kill 38 in Kaduna communities. General Sura calls for special court to try terrorists. Samela, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I have so much to say, but because of our time. But you see, when bandits issue, I think in the Northwest now, what I can describe, I don't even describe what the bandits are doing. I mean, the bandits have already been labeled as terrorists.
Yes. Yeah.
Constitutionally, it has been taken as. So why? I don't even see why you should be using bandits. You should be using terrorists still 38 in Kaduna communities.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that in the Northwest, what is happening, what the terrorists are doing now is genocide. It's not even banditry. It's genocide that is going on, where people are being roasted alive. And it's at the same time that we're having the son of the president being turbaned in Daura. That I feel that is very, very shameful, and that is very, very insensitive of a presidency to allow that to happen. At a time in the same zone where people are being roasted alive, and the president has not deemed it necessary to go there with his entourage to go and address people, to go and say some good, nice things to them, to actually give them some reassurance, rather than going for a turbaning ceremony. Even the VP was also there. That is shameful. We should learn to do the right things at the right time. Nobody is saying somebody should not be turbaned, but you see, it's not an issue of life and death that has to be attended when in the same zone people are being killed in their hundreds on daily basis. And that's when you feel, oh, this turbaning ceremony, somebody will die if we postpone it. It has to go on. It's really shameful for a young man who has never worked anywhere, who has no anything on his CV to show to Nigerians, but rather taking chieftaincy titles here and there, up and down, when the country is actually on fire. I think this is shameful, and I will must say it the way it is. So I think the other writer, General Sura calls for special court to try terrorists. Well, if that's the way they feel it's going to happen, let them do it. But I'm sure in the Constitution of Nigeria, it is enshrined what should be done to a terrorist. So if you need any special court, well, if it's going to be effective, so be it. But what the people are calling for is that let this thing stop. This madness has to stop. You understand? And the presidency needs to be serious about it, about stopping it. There's nothing wrong. People like us will lead a crusade to say, let's be praying and fasting for the president. If he say he's breaking down because he hasn't been able to sleep in 3 days, because are you sleeping? How can you be a president of a nation and you are sleeping every day, that people are getting killed under your government on daily basis, and you are getting sleep? So if we hear in the news one day and say, oh, I think they are jetting him out because he's not been able, he's having insomnia, and insomnia is because as a result of lack of sleep, we will all be praying. It means, oh, really? So he's concerned. So I mean, we're expecting this to happen, because he shouldn't be able to sleep if the whole of Nigeria is his constituency or are his children. You understand? The same seriousness that was shown when Yusuf Buhari had an accident on the bike should be shown to the rest of us. Because if you are the president of Nigeria, you should know that the rest of the nation is actually your children. You understand? So it's funny. Rather than showing much concern, we're saying is partying all around the place. It's unfortunate, and that has to stop as well.
Thank you so much, Samala. For more on the stories, you can get a leadership newspaper. I'll go to the website, leadership.ng, to read more on the stories today. And that's what we'll be calling today on today's Inside Nigeria, reaching you from Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ubebo, and I've had with me
Samala Musa.
Samala Musa, it has been a pleasure having you on the program. So don't forget, tomorrow is another day for Inside Nigeria. Please do keep a date. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6944. 6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.